My name's Rob Rowley. I'm an application engineer with Bentley Systems. Just a little bit about myself. I've been with Bentley for 17 years. Prior to coming to Bentley, I worked in the architectural and engineering world for about 15 years. I actually grew up in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area. In 1984, I relocated to Washington, D.C. and started work for an architectural firm. I worked for them up until about 1990. And then in the 90s, I worked for several engineering firms, most recently Heery and Jacobs Engineering. That was all in the Washington, D.C. area. In 2000, I got the opportunity to come to Bentley, and I relocated my family back to Pittsburgh. I'm actually talking to you from my home office just north of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My primary responsibilities at Bentley are doing presentations like you'll see today and helping companies like yours implement our software. And I primarily work with ProjectWise Navigator on our mobile applications. So that's just a little bit about me. Let's go ahead and get started. So as you know, Bentley users around the world are creating very complex and large projects. These projects span industrial, commercial, and civil types. They also span the life cycle from design to construction to operations. And one of the challenges we have in these very large projects is having tools to easily allow all the team members to collaborate no matter where they are working on the projects. So let's take a look at how we're addressing that. So one of the key issues with this is being able to collaborate from the office to the field, perhaps in a construction trailer, also out on the site, actually working on the construction site. So to address these things, we're introducing Navigator CONNECT Edition. And this is a revolutionary advancement for BIM review designed to enable better decisions throughout an asset's lifecycle. We're focused in three main areas. One is a single experience, no matter whether you're working in the office or in a construction trailer or perhaps actually out on the site. We're also looking at connected collaboration environment, so no matter where team members are located, they're connected into the process. And information visibility, and having all the intelligence that we're working with in our designs easily available to us. So some of the challenges we have in our work environments today are that we have these large complex projects, as I said, and they use lots of different technology. So they have multiple different applications, different file formats, and having all those things working together can be a real challenge on the projects. We also have some constraints on the information that we have. You know, oftentimes we'll just have paper-based drawings that we're working with, and they don't have all the information about the specifications and so on that we need to actually make the decisions we do need to make for the projects. And we have global workforces that are dispersed all the way, you know, could be anywhere in the world, and they need to be able to interact in the projects effectively. So to address this, we are working on a consistent experience for everyone in the projects. So this includes having a common interface for all of our devices, again, whether that's in the office or in the field. We need to be able to interact with the entire model. So no matter where the information is coming from, we need to be able to bring that in, and that could be very large models. And we work with multiple platforms and languages, which we'll see in just a minute. So Navigator does have a common interface from Navigator on the desktop to Navigator mobile. So that's important because it allows you to be able to easily learn the tools. It's a very simple to use interface. And whether you may start out working in the office, learning all the tools there, and then if you're working in the field, it's a very similar experience, so it's easy to work in both of those environments. The interface is touch-enabled, so whether you're using that on a desktop computer, a tablet, all those touch capabilities are there, or maybe even in a very large screen map, perhaps in a project trailer, you might have a large screen where you're interacting and using the touch-enabled capabilities. So because the interface is so easy to use, it's targeted to the decision makers within your projects. So you have a project manager, they're working in the office, they need to go into the model, they bring it up, they can zoom around very easily, click on things, get more information about what they're working with, or perhaps another person's out in the field that needs to make decisions. They could be doing that also on a tablet using the same interface. Another key thing is that we can work with very large complex models. So you can publish all the information, again, from this disparate set of applications, bring it all together, and it can be, again, really large projects that work effectively both in the office on a desktop as well as out in the field on a tablet. The other part about that is that the format, whether you're working in the office or in the field on a tablet, is the exact same format. So it's very easy to use that and have those work together. We do support multiple different platforms and languages. So here you can see we support all the standard platforms from Windows to iOS to Android, and that's supported on all the standard operating systems. It's also supported through many different devices, from tablets to laptops, excuse me, to those large, even all the way up to the large screens that you might have in the trailer. We do support multiple languages. So why this is important is that many of these projects are globally scoped, and you may have team members working that are comfortable in different languages. It's important for them to have a tool where they can apply that language and really understand and interact with the team regardless of where they are in the world. So another type of issue we have is project coordination workflows. So being able to capture issues that you have on a project can be difficult because a lot of times we may just have paper that we're working with. And the information that you need is in multiple different sources. So as an example, let's say you're working with a tank on a project and you need information about that. Well, you may need the drawings for that. You also may need the specifications. Well, those are stored in an entirely separate place. Maybe you need cost information about that particular thing that you're working with. So just finding all that information can be challenging and time-consuming, right? So that really causes a disconnect, being able to get all this information and bring it together. So, and also just having the team members, if they're not connected together, that can be difficult as well. So if you can imagine that you have a, you're out in the field and you have a drawing and you're trying to identify an issue that you see on site, well, you can mark up that issue, put marks on a piece of paper, but somehow that's got to get back to the office and that's got to get transferred back there. So that's also another disconnect you have with the project team members where they're not getting that information effectively. So let's take a look at how we could address this. Through our ProjectWise Issues Resolution service, we have the ability to be able to identify issues in the field. So if you can imagine you're out in the field, you identify an issue, you capture that into an issue register, we assign that to a team member for them to resolve the issue. That's automatically updated to them. They then go through, resolve that issue, and that whole process is tracked and made sure that it is completed all the way through the process. So let's take a more detailed look at how that works. So through our issue resolution service, if you can imagine that you're out in the field, you're walking around the project site, you have your model up on your, in this case, let's say it's an iPad, you can see an issue that you have in the field, capture that issue with a photograph from what you see in the field, but you also could capture that in the model and compare the two of them and report that issue back in the issue register, assign it to a person, and then have that issue resolved. So here you can see where we could attach a red line. We could also attach a photograph at that point. And this is all going into a single issue that's going to go into the issue register. And this can also be through all the time. We can disconnect, check out the issues that we have, assign them, and then reconnect. And when we sync back up, all that information is going to be brought back into the office for someone to resolve the issue. Once you've defined the issue, we simply sync that, and that'll share it with project team members. And then we can see that in multiple different places. You can see that in Navigator back in the office. You could also see that from a issues resolution portal from your project portal as well. So another challenge we have with our fragmented information we have on our projects, and this is where if you need to understand something that's happening within your project on a particular object, again, you have to you need information from multiple different sources, right? So you need the drawings for what you're working with, you need the specifications, you also need your perhaps cost information, as I mentioned earlier. So just finding that information can be very time-consuming. It can be hard to find it, so what that's causing is a disconnection between the drawing information we have and all the intelligent data we have. Again, you know, drawing specifications, even cost information you need. So being able to capture all that information can be difficult. So let's see how we can address that as well. So through visibility into your projects, you can bring all that information we were just talking about together. So we can interact with the model visually, color code things on the screen, and be able to work with those, and I'll show you that in just a minute. We can also search through the intelligent information that's come from the design applications and quickly find things within the models. And we can view object properties, which we'll see in just a second. So through our data visualization, we can actually color code the model and have all the information you need about that readily available to you. One example, a very simple example, might be in a construction project, you want to see visually which components have already been installed, which components are currently under construction, and which parts of the design or haven't even begun yet. Well, we can color code that very easily, and you'd be able to see the status of your project quickly and easily in that way. So these data visualizations can be defined based on the attributes that are coming from the design applications, and then you can create as many of those as you want for whatever application you need them for. We can also do advanced searching, again, based on data that's come in. So you might want to search for a particular component that has a particular tag number, and maybe you need to inspect each of the pumps, let's say, as an example. You could search for each pump by a type and then be able to go around the project site and see where all those pumps are and find them quickly and easily and do your inspection. And we can work with all the individual properties within that came from the design information as well. So when we click on any object, we're going to get all the property information associated with that. When you're working in design applications, you can associate different specifications and other types of documents to objects. So when I click on an object here, it's going to actually show me what's associated with that. We've got a couple examples here. You've got your equipment PDF that's associated with that. I could just click on that. It'll open up the PDF document for me to view right within the same design review session. Or another example might be that you have a link to a manufacturer's site that actually has information about that component that you want the user to be able to click on and go to that manufacturer site to review that information. So this is just a very high-level overview of our new Navigator CONNECT Edition. We talked about how we have a single experience for users that's a very easy-to-use interface that works across both your desktop Navigator as well as mobile Navigator. Again, very easy to work with. We talked about how we have connected collaboration using our issues resolution service, where we can identify issues and then resolve those, assign them to different users, and resolve the issue and track that through the entire process of resolving the issue. And then we wrapped up talking about information visibility and how we can see our models graphically and work with all that intelligent information effectively. So the great news is this Navigator Connect Edition is available now. So we're going to want you to go ahead and get started with it. And here's what you want to do next is go out to bentley.com/navigator or these other sites and go ahead and get started. We do have a trial program available today. And then the one last thing I wanted to point out is that this is a very high-level introduction to Navigator Connect Edition, but we will be having follow-up tech talks that will go into more detail on each of the topics that we discussed today. At this point, I'm going to wrap it up there, pass it back to Natalie, and we'll go from there.